Is buying real estate as a first home buyer right now going to be the worst financial decision you ever make?
Australia's housing crisis,
rental and homeless crisis,
cost of living crisis,
The identity crisis, the male violence crisis, the child crime crisis. We're living in a place and time I call the everything crisis. But will buying property right now lead to your own personal housing crisis? It's not as straightforward as what you might think, so in this video we're going to tackle this question right now. Here's a question I want to ask straight up. The answer is something people don't do enough of in this time of social media. Why should you listen to me? Firstly, you should listen to different opinions because different people have different perspectives, and you gathering those different perspectives allows you to form your own perspectives. This means you're making your own informed decisions. My name is Will, and I've been running my mortgage brokerage down here in Melbourne for 13 years. In that time, I've helped many home buyers navigate the challenges of buying property. And to be clear, when I discuss this issue with my clients, I always say the right decision for you is the one you decide to take, so long as you're considering all the relevant information. This is important because some of those different opinions, especially online, are going to be telling you it's always the right time to buy property, and I don't necessarily agree with that. At the moment, first home buyers are trapped between a rock and a hard place. On the one side, you have high property prices. Even if you can save up the deposit needed to buy a property, you then have higher interest rates and therefore higher loan repayments to worry about. On the other side, you have skyrocketing rent prices, which make it harder for people to save up for a deposit. I can't say anymore how hard a position this is, and I can understand how infuriating it must be when older generations are generalising younger Australians as lazy and whingers. The main fear about buying a property is the fear that it will crash. I'm going to explain this in an oversimplified way, otherwise this video is going to go forever. If you are purchasing something for the long term, which you should be because home loans are 30-year loans, then it's highly likely that real estate prices will not go down. The reason I say this is that because our money system creates inflation, that's why if you look back over 30 years, the cost of everything is a lot cheaper back then compared to what it is now. If you look back at peak property prices of the GFC, which was about 15 years ago, you can see how prices have significantly increased despite the hit they took during the crisis. Now that we've worked through this factor, we're all good to go out and buy property, right? Well, no, despite this, there are still some major and genuine things people need to work through. If you followed my channel, you would know that my opinion is that as a general rule, people take out too much debt. This is certainly the case for people who maxed out their borrowing power at 1.89% interest rates in 2020 or 2021. This is a genuine concern that all borrowers need to work through. Rising interest rates is always a danger, and people need to be sure they have a savings buffer to mitigate this threat. The right amount of borrowing is going to depend on the individual borrowers. Here's what I can piece together from my view on the sidelines. The average first home buyer here in Melbourne is 35 or 36 years old. The standard home loan is 30 years old. That's going to put them to 65 years old by the time the debt is paid out. That equation is pretty simple. You're going to be in debt until you get near retirement age. Trying to figure out how fast you can get rid of your debt is an important factor on whether you should buy a property now, in my opinion. This is something I work through with my clients on because paying off a home loan in 20 years is definitely possible, and it will make a massive difference in someone's life. So let's just circle back here and summarize. First home buyers are like everyone else, and they need a roof over their heads. You can either rent and pay someone else's mortgage or buy yourself. If house prices are too high, which is what I hear a lot of, then you need to make some pretty tough decisions because there's a chance prices don't come back down and you get left behind, stuck in the rent trap. I'm having these conversations with people all the time because they're overwhelmed and quite frankly a little bit scared. If this is you, I'd be happy to chat. The objective of these chats is for you to have a bit more clarity, which will help you in your decision making moving forward. Whatever that decision is, so long as it's the right decision for you, is all that matters. Cheers.